Hey everybody, it's Mike with Seeds and Arrows Frontier. Today is March 1st. We're coming out of winter, and it's an exciting time of year. I think hunting is an exciting time of year, but also this time of year for catching swarms and getting back into the bees. I got a lot of new things that I'm going to be trying this year, and then also I have one of my friends, brother in Christ, that is reaching out to me, Barry Hughes. He's starting up a YouTube channel as well, and it's Growing Roots Farm. And so he does a lot of things on his farm, homesteading stuff, and so he's reached out to me wanting to get into bees. And part of that is he does woodworking stuff, so we're probably going to do some projects together. So it's basically going to be a beekeeping basic video that I'm going to try to educate Barry on, but then also bring you all along, so anybody that's interested in getting into bees, maybe be something that would help you all out as well.
Hey everybody, this is Barry with Growing Roots Farm. I got Mike here from Seeds and Arrow Frontier.
Hello.
And basically, I want to get into bees, and we've talked about this probably going back a year or so ago. We've talked about it intermittently. Mike's been doing bees for a while. I'm a complete novice. I've had interest in them, getting them on our farm, on our property for a while for a bunch of different reasons. But I got started with this beehive, and it came in a kit. And Mike's going to help me just kind of learn what in the world I'm supposed to do.
Oh, absolutely. So that's the one thing great about getting into bees. Once you travel down that rabbit hole, you find out there are so many more things that the bees are useful for, and an intricate part of their lives actually is helping us. And so it's great that Barry wants to get out here, and even though one of the good things about the bees is they can actually produce honey, and that's something that if you get into it, you know, one, it's going to pollinate your plants, and then two, obviously getting the honey is a great way to get into that. So, but you got to understand first how the bees are behaving, and understand why we do certain things. Langstroth actually created the Langstroth box, and there's a lot of methods, science methods, that I had to learn the hard way. I didn't really have anybody explaining to me why the boxes were made a specific way. And once you get into the science behind it, you understand the details behind that. And so what we're basically, I'm just going to go in through and then just show Barry some introduction and beginning things. But also, if you're looking at getting into bees, then this would also be great for you. So right now we're over at Barry's house and in his woodworking shop, and then later on we're probably going to be getting into making swarm traps so we can catch free bees. The free bee?
Free sounds great.
Yeah, definitely.
So, when you're doing homesteading or starting small farm, you know, this kind of living, I feel like the majority of us we want to go cheap. We're not cheap. We want to do quality work, but we're always looking for what's the best price.
Exactly.
And free bees sounds great.
So explain. So I did give Barry just a couple of areas to go through, and some beginning stuff that he would probably look at the best bang for his buck. And they have these sites online that you can go into, and it basically will break down like a whole beekeeping setup, you know, just to get you started. And so you went to, I guess, Maybe?
Yeah, this one, Maybe, I think it was all on a kit off of Amazon, but it had all this together with it. So, and once again, like you kind of gave the advice, it's like, you know, go with one of these kits, and it's like, all right, let's get started with it and figure everything out from there.
And so basically this kit came with so your veil, and so that's very important, and we'll put that off to the side. Here, so this is actually a frame holder. And so what happens is, like when you're getting into the bees, you can set this like right in the side. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and do that. We'll show them how it works. And so you're going to break open the beehive, and so you have like your top cover, and then you're going to have what comes with the kit is your this is the queen excluder, okay, and then you have your frames in here. Now the frames they serve several purposes, but basically what the bees are going to do is draw out their comb. So when you get a swarm, most of the time they come ready to draw out comb. And so if you have these right here, and I'm just going to show this real quick.
And is that the large? Because I know there's different.
These are the large frames.
That's
yeah.
a large frame.
And so what that does is it creates, when you start to put these into like your spinner, I've done it both ways. I've done free comb to where the bees just draw it out, and then I've actually done this. This actually gives it the comb more support, and you'll realize that once the honey is inside these frames, these can weigh up to 10, 15 pounds. So that's a lot of weight, and if the comb is not securely fastened to the top and then on the sides, then that comb will just basically spin out with the honey. So it becomes a little bit of a mess. But I found out that these plastic boards are a lot better to be able to do that. And so this box right here, this is what you would call a deep box. And back to this right here. So this will just basically slide down on the side of the box, and then when you have your frame, you have like all your frames right here. Well, you want to take out a frame to look at the bees, see what's going on in your hive, and then you're like, okay, I'm done looking at that frame. You can just basically bring this over here, and just hangs right on the side of the box. Okay, so that way, as you're going through, what I like to do is you'll put this one first, because you don't like to, you don't want somebody coming in and moving your furniture around in your home to like different places that you don't want. The bees know everything where they want stuff. They usually will have their honey frames on the outside of the box, and then as you go inwards, you're going to have your brood or your baby bees that are on the inside. Now they do that on purpose because the honey actually creates a insulation wall for heat, but then also keeps it cool in the summer hot days. So as you're bringing them out, you can kind of just bring a couple over, and then you just slide these over, and then when you're done, you put it back the same way. Okay, so you're going to basically put this one back in here ever so gently, and voila, the last one. So this is really great for just being able to hold on to the side right there, so you have something. When I first started out, I was kind of like leaning frames up against the bee boxes or against the hive stand, and then sometimes you get kind of in a where you're doing multiple things at once, and you start kicking over frames, and then bees are flying everywhere. So that's good. Next, you're going to have, this is a great tool, and people have come up with different ways of doing things. They say you can spray sugar water on them, and that can work on certain specific things. The problem is that during honey flow, you don't want to contaminate your honey with sugar water. Okay, so people are kind of like, oh yeah, I'm going to spray sugar water on them, and they're going to be busy cleaning themselves off, but then what they actually are doing is they're actually absorbing that sugar water, and then it goes right down into the honeycomb frames. You don't want that if you're like wanting pure honey for yourself or to be selling. Smoke is obviously, the better way, and what that actually does is obviously it makes them think that there's a fire, and then so what they end up doing is they'll gorge themselves with honey for a quick escape. If the hive is caught on fire, then they're just going to basically leave the hive with that honey just to be able to start over. And then if the queen leaves, then she can have the rest of the bees. She lets off a pheromone that the rest of the bees will follow out with her. Now, if it's just a quick burst of smoke, they're just going to gorge themselves, and then they're kind of waiting for command to figure out what's going on. So you're not going to completely have them swarm out on you. Okay.
And does the smoke also help with some of their communicating?
Yes, it does.
It
Yep.
decreases their communication, so that if any of them are wanting to swarm, it's not sending the signal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's kind of the way I was interpreting it.
Well, it kind of clouds, not necessarily to swarm, but to say if there's a predator, they're more concerned about the smoke versus what the predator's doing.
Okay. Okay.
So they're not focused on you as much.
And I don't want to focus on me.
So
I don't like being stung. So.
exactly. So this is kind of go into this a little bit as we're going with the bees. So this is good to, if you need to look at a frame of bees, you're going to have like, basically thousands of bees on each of the frames. Any hive, like a single brood hive, you can get up to 10, 15, 20,000 bees, 30,000 bees in this box. When you start adding more boxes on top of that, you can get up to about 60 to 80,000. Even some of them, some of the bigger colonies, I mean, you can get up to 100,000 bees.
So where I was saying off camera, I was saying I wanted enough bees to learn, but not be overwhelmed, especially first year.
Right.
So one of my questions for you is, I'm starting with this. When I look online, there's a lot of them where you got the large down here, and then a lot of them will have like a medium on top.
Yeah, and I got some of this right here, which we're going to be putting together later.
Okay.
But just to kind of show you, so this would actually be.
It would go on top, so there would be another one that stacks on.
Yeah, and then that would just kind of go like this.
Would it be a good recommendation to have like the large and then the medium? Would that be sufficient, or do I need to get another one or two of these?
So that is like everybody's preference, and the bees really could care less about what weight, because I know some people that do all mediums, and that when I first thought about it, I was like, hey, all mediums, that's the way I'm gonna go, is like to do all mediums, and then so that way they can just use the medium frames. I'll have just all medium frames, and then it'll strictly be that they'll have some frames that are for the brood and then some frames for the honey, and then the medium boxes are lighter, so you're not carrying. So if this is full of honey, you got 10 frames full of honey, that could, and you're talking about 10 pounds per frame plus the box, you're probably looking at about 120 pounds lifting this up every time. And so if you get into it to where you're having 10, 15, or even 20, 30 hives, my goal would be to get, I think for me, ideally, I would like to see about 20, 30 hives.
Yeah.
And that would be something that would sustain yourself and then actually give you a decent amount of honey to be able to get. But you're talking about, you could have one colony, one queen that is sustaining the brood, and what I prefer to do is a single box method. But going back to the box question, you could do all mediums, you could do all deeps, and that's basically what I learned from myself, is to do, I got some 10 frames, but I usually do like all deeps, and I actually steered away from a lot of the mediums. Now I do have medium boxes, but what happens is like when you get into this, you're basically mixing and matching different boxes, and what I found out was when I got my first colony, it's in a nuke, and which is basically like a 5-frame, it's like a 5-frame box.
Yeah.
Well, the nukes all come with deep frames. So then that didn't work in with my medium frame box.
Okay.
So then I was like, well, now I got to create a medium or a deep box to put my
So you shifted
deep frames
yours
in. So I
based off
shifted
of
off of that.
Gotcha.
And so it seems like predominantly the deep frames is what the majority of the people use.
Okay.
And then I ended up buying a box of bees off of a lady that was getting rid of some of him, and they were all deep boxes.
So is deep also synonymous with the large? So
Yes.
the large and the deep are the same thing?
Yes.
Okay.
So you have like your large or your deep boxes, which this is roughly about I think it's like 11.5 inches, and then your mediums, which is this right here.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see the difference between those, and then and then this is just a little bit lighter. So if this is full of honey, you're running about maybe 60 pounds.
Yeah.
Versus the 100 pounds or 120 pounds. So, so then this obviously is horsehair brush, and so if you go to extract honey, you got to basically shake the bees off, and they have a pretty tough exoskeleton. So, you're not going to really hurt them by shaking them off, but you shake them off, and then you're going to have a couple of stragglers that are still trying to get to the honey. And you can just use this to kind of lightly brush them off. And I mean, you can feel that.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah. Really soft.
really soft. So, got that. And then you're going to have your hive tools. Usually, let me see here. Did it come with a couple of different ones? Yeah, you got. Yep, you got the multi-tool. So you got different hive tools,
Here,
and it's just basically. Yeah. Basically, your preference, however you want to handle it. I actually prefer this J hook. This is called the J hook for obvious reason. But I like the flat part of this one right here. So my ideal hive tool would be to have this to where it's flat, and I'll explain that here in a second. But then to have this J hook, because sometimes this J hook, what you're going to do, if you want to get your camera, bring it over here. I'm going to show you.
Yep. Let me bring it over.
Basically lock these down into place, and then so they will have their that's slipping my mind right now, but their bee glue, which is different tree saps that will lock these down into place. Now what happens is like you really even during the hotter months, it's going to be hard to pull this up. So you're going to use this J hook on the end right here, and it's basically by design to basically come down, and then you're going to use the leverage from the other frame.
Let me get a close up on that.
So you're going to bring it in here, you bring this down, you're going to use the leverage from the other frame to pull that side up.
Yeah, okay.
So, and then this is what I was coming in for the science. Something else I'll show you here. You see how this is kind of grooved to slant up. It's not just flush.
Yeah.
And then that helps to break the seal, because if it's all flat, this is the mistake that I made. I was like, I'm just going to make my own frames, and it's all flat. And when you come in here to try to break that, seal from the box, it takes a lot more effort.
It's more surface area.
Exactly, that they actually glue down. So, and then you got to worry about that, and then that basically you'll start to dent in these other frames.
Yeah.
So
that's why I had told you initially, because I do woodworking. I was like, I want to build my own, because I like the satisfaction of building my own, especially from lumber I mill myself and things of that nature. But when I got this kit, I was like, maybe I won't mill my, maybe I won't do my, at least not initially. I was like, I think I'm just going to order more from here, because there's a lot of intricacies to it. That
you can see this right here. Here's another key thing, just like through here. So these give you the proper bee spacing, because if you have too much spacing, if it's too
in there.
open,
Yeah.
then the bees will build bridges from comb to comb. So this is science, from Langstroth or whoever did the first hive, that he decided that was the perfect amount of space for the bees to basically travel from comb to comb without bridging over and building new comb. And so you can also see right here on the side that there's an opening, and that gives, so again, that these they will glue these together right here, but it's not going to be glued together down here. So they'll keep that space open to where it's just like when you break that seal, all you're having to do is break it apart up here. And that was another thing that I learned the hard way.
So yeah, after getting the kit and assembling it, I was like, yes, I can make all this, but I thought time-wise, it's not the most efficient.
Exactly.
I was like,
unless you're going to be doing a lot at once.
Yeah, I was like, I think it's better I just purchase it already as a kit instead of spending time doing it, because there is more intricacies to it than I initially thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's basically when I got into it. It was more so, oh yeah, I'm gonna get some bees and like throw them together, and they'll just be out on the property and they're gonna be happy. I'll be happy, and I'll get some honey out of it.
Yeah.
And you find out it's so much more in depth.
Yeah, and that's what I keep hearing is like, okay, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to learn. And that's why I'm like, I just want to get some to get started and hopefully not kill them,
Right.
and produce some honey. But that's the goal. So, all right, we're good.
Okay, so the other thing that you have in for this one right here, this hive tool that has an L right here, this is just basically that you can just kind of, put it in here, separate it like that, and that will kind of like break it apart, and then break the sides, and then you can use this. Now the problem though is that the initial, when you have boxes on boxes, they glue everything together. Propolis, that's what I was looking for. So the propolis is basically what they use to glue everything together. Now the propolis also has been found to have like maple sap, different tree saps from the area, and you can actually put that into an alcohol and like a vodka or something like that, and that will actually extract out the propolis properties that are high in antioxidants and actually have been known to cure some cancers.
Huh.
So
well,
everything about the bees.
That was a whole nother. That's a whole nother topic on the medicinal part of
Yep.
beekeeping. Because I've also heard another beekeeper was telling me, at least from what I've heard, was that there's been some research on, I think it was osteoarthritis, and how beekeepers have a lower risk of osteoarthritis, and they think it has something to do with being stung, but some of the benefits of that actually helps your body fight off arthritis.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
And they're actually using that now. Like some of the doctors are actually using that now to actually specifically intentionally have the bees, the honeybees, sting their patients wherever they have arthritis in their hands, and like people that can't even walk, and they're stinging them in their knees, and within a matter of I don't know if it's like an hour or something like that, that they can actually get up and actually stand up and walk.
That's
and
pretty
cool. So different things with the bees that I feel like God just basically put them here on earth for us.
Oh yeah.
And but it's fascinating to see all the things that you can use them for. So back to the hive tools. So obviously you have the flat bar right here. This one's good for getting in here and actually breaking the boxes apart. But then you come over here, and for the J hook, you really got to get in here, and then you're going to pull this up by yourself, or bring it up this way, which sometimes that can damage the comb. So that's why I like the J hook.
Gotcha.
on here.
Okay.
But then also for the flatness, you're talking about you don't get much lever from this one, or leverage from this one to break open the boxes.
Yeah, to break the box off.
So that's why I like this one right here. Now another trick, these are all metal, so another trick that I learned from another beekeeper was to put a magnet in your pocket, because that's the one thing, you can never have enough hive tools, and I learned that you're always going to lose them. So if you put a magnet in your pocket, then it'll just stick to the outside of your pocket.
So I feel like I need like a tool belt.
Yeah, you almost do. Yeah. So, but
I got some old tool belts.
Those are good.
We'll just have to like put them to good use.
Exactly. So this is going to be the novice basically the novice sugar feeder that you're going to feed the bees. Now, there's so many different things that you have one hive.
Yeah.
This is not going to be that bad to use, okay? And then they even have, so this is one for like a mason jar. Which,
Yeah, that's what it looked like, a mason jar.
yeah, you got plenty of mason jars.
Oh.
Just fill it up with sugar
We've got a
water
few.
and just screw it on there.
Yeah.
And you'll see them, so be able to drink that down. You have one hive, this is not bad. If you get into to where you're gonna have multiple hives, the stronger hives will take over the younger, or the weaker hives, and will come in, and that will actually create a what's called a robbing situation, to where they will find any sources of honey or sugar water, and they will steal that from the other hives, and it'll also, and then in the process they basically attack the other hive, and they'll try to find that queen and kill her, and then basically take all their resources for their hive. So one hive is not bad, but you get more hives in the same area, and then like I'm saying, it's like 20 or 30 hives, then these can become a very hazardous situation for the bees. Now this is another one for a bottle. You just fill up like a Coke bottle.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then just slide that. You just slide that right into the
Into the,
entrance down here.
like that there.
So, which brings me to another point. I've seen this on a lot of. I'm on like a beekeeping for beginners site, and I try to give out some advice. But I see this a lot. So this is your entrance reducer, and so for different times of the year, you want to have this to where they have a smaller entrance in the winter time when it's cold. You don't want a lot of their heat escaping, because the bees will keep this temperature up by creating friction in the hive, and then they create a ball around the queen, and they keep her warm through the cold days. But during the summer or the spring, you can actually turn it this way to where the entrance is a little bit bigger for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it's still kind of cold outside at nighttime, but during the daytime they want more bees, air traffic control, more bees being able to come in rather than, and you'll see like when the switch comes, they'll start clogging up right here, trying to get in and trying to get out. So this just helps them a little bit to where you have bees that are leaving and bees that are coming in with that initial first pollen. So the maple trees will, you can judge the maple tree blooms, and they have that first pollen that the bees are looking for. And the pollen is basically what the young brood, your baby bees, are going to eat.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that first pollen is the sign for the queen to start mass producing eggs. So during the wintertime, there's not a lot of food, so she just kind of lays eggs here and there just to keep the colony alive. But then once that push for spring comes, she knows that the more eggs that she can have, or the more bees that you have for spring, gears up to where you're getting ready to get that honey flow. And so she wants as many bees produced within a period of time to be able to get as much honey as possible.
Okay.
And then at that point in time, when the spring flow hits, you just want to take this thing out completely. Okay, and you can kind of set it aside to where they have this full runway, and you'll see, I mean, it'll just be bees flying in and out.
Okay.
So, yeah, just judging on the different times of the year, that you can just rotate that around. And
Keep that over here.
okay, next up, we're gonna have, so this is,
Take it out of there.
it's all put together, but this is basically just to grab onto the frames. You got a knife?
Yep.
Put that out there. Very prepared.
Try. I always keep a knife on me.
There you go. So this is just basically like if you're worried about getting in and where you're going to drop a frame or something like that, you know, you can use this to pull out, and it just holds on to the frame. If you're nervous about like grabbing onto the sides, sometimes you'll have a bee that gets up underneath the ledge right here. When you're picking it up, they start crawling around everywhere. You put your fingers down underneath there, they're obviously going to sting you. So you'll get used to it, but or not.
Yeah, or not.
But this is just a grabber, just to grab the frames. So right here. Okay, so this is what you want to use to scrape the wax off the frames. And so what this does, I'll show you. This actually kind of goes with this as well. So this is going to be your honey knife, or the wax knife that you want to cut the honey caps off. And so you just bring it in here, and then you're going to just basically cut it. And they'll raise the wax up to where it's past these frames.
Yeah.
And so you just cut that, and what that's going to do is open up all the cells to basically put in your spinner and spin out. Okay? So once you do that, sometimes you're going to have, it's not all going to be perfectly even, so then you can just bring this along on the areas that didn't get touched. And you just bring that and scrape it, open up the cells so you can get most of the honey out. So obviously this is the first video, so just a lot of going over the equipment and everything for beekeeping, and we'll get into some techniques and everything. We got another part of the video that's going to explain some other equipment and just my experiences using the equipment. So thanks for watching, stay safe, make each day count, and God bless.